What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about an updated list of accessories that I think are super useful if you are an e-biker, especially if you're a new e-biker. But even if you've been e-biking for a while, there's probably something on this list that you're going to find very useful. Everything on this list I have tried personally, I have used personally, and I would recommend. I'm not just spamming you guys with stuff that I have no idea about. I've used all this stuff. I think these are all extremely valuable e-bike accessories, and we're going to categorize all of these accessories in 3 categories of prices. Under $50, between $50 and $150, and then over $150. And that way, you can maybe get some stocking stuffers, some small gifts for the e-bike friend or family member of your choosing, or you can get them something really nice, really expensive. It's totally up to you. We're going to start with the cheap stuff first. And at the time of filming this video, it is almost December. I guess you can kind of use this as a holiday shopping list in case you're curious what to get. But really, this list is great for any time of the year. So I will be changing the title and the thumbnail of this video after Christmas. It's just going to be a generic accessories video. But right now, it could be used as a holiday shopping guide. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Number 1 is probably one of the most important safety accessories any e-biker can have, even if you are just using trails, you're not even going on the road, which is a Barend Mirror. And this is a Michow Barend Mirror. I like this because it's a little bit on the bigger side. It's very clear. It's fully adjustable. It looks nice. It's out of the way. It's not all the way out here. It's foldable. You can fold it in if you want to make the handlebars a little bit narrower. But a mirror is super important to see who's behind you. Even if you're on a regular trail, and let's say you're just going slow, you're just chilling at 10, 15 miles an hour, and some crazy e-biker or crazy cyclist wants to pass you at faster speeds, you will see them, right? And if you are on the road, this is mandatory. I'm sorry, you need to have one of these. And later in the video, when we get to the more expensive stuff, I'm going to mention something that goes very, very well with the mirror. I think, in my opinion, it's mandatory as well. But it's not as important as this. Keep watching the video so you know what I'm talking about. Number 2 is going to be a good phone mount. And a phone is very useful for your e-bike because you're going to be using GPS. You might be using this thing for commuting. You might have your speedometer on here. You might even use it as a heads-up display for that accessory I listed earlier. And so I really like the Gub phone mount. I had one earlier that accepts pretty decently sized phones, and recently they made one with longer claws that are able to hold larger phones, and I actually need that because I am a 2-year-old and I drop my phone all the time. The last time I dropped it, it broke. I drop it all the time, and so this phone now has a massive case on it. And this new Gub mount does fit. It fits that phone perfectly. It's extremely stable, extremely solid, very low profile, made out of metal, no plastic in there, Allen bolts to keep everything secured. And it's like 15, 20 bucks. It's super cheap. I think it's one of the best things to have on your e-bike. Number 3 is going to be a simple bell. Most e-bikes come with bells nowadays, but I think that's important to also have. If you were ever on a pedestrian way, you could just ring your bell and people can hear you. That way you don't have to scream on your left unless you like screaming at people. That's fine too. Keep doing that. You do you. Scream at people, but at the same time, you could use your bell if you want to break from screaming. Number 3 is going to be a horn that also doubles as an alarm system. And this horn I actually do have on my other bike, my wired cruiser. It's so loud, guys. It is crazy loud. You could use this thing on the road if you want. Let's say you're behind a car and the light turns green and they're not going. They will hear this horn, I promise you. It is as loud as a car horn. I'll leave links to all this stuff in the description below. But this horn also doubles as an alarm system. It comes with key fobs, and what it does is you arm it, and if someone touches your bike and it moves and they move the bike, the alarm beeps at them for a little bit, and if they keep moving it, it really just goes off and it keeps beeping just like a car alarm would, so it gives them a lot of attention, which they probably don't want if they're trying to steal your bike. Number 3 is going to be a Cloud9 Seat. This is specific to regular style bicycles. That has a standard seat post where you can just buy custom seats easily. I've tried a lot of different seats. I think I've tried at least 6 or 7 different seats when I first got into e-biking, and out of all the big comfy seats that I tried, the Cloud9 Seat was the best. It was the most comfortable one, and it has springs built into it, so it doubles almost like a suspension seat post. But I do think it is the most comfortable seat out there, and more than likely, if you buy this for your e-biker friend or family member who has maybe an uncomfortable seat, more than likely they're gonna like it. It is a super popular seat for a reason. Next thing we're gonna talk about is Flatout. Flatout tire sealant. I actually just put it in this bike right now. I put it in all my main e-bikes that I ride around regularly. It works amazing. I even did testing on this product on my own just to make sure it does work well. I literally drilled into my tire with a drill bit and it still sealed those holes up. Flatout is incredible. It has fibers in it, plus whatever kind of substance, whatever sticky substance is in there that helps seal a hole up immediately. It uses the tire's centrifugal forces to push that Flatout sealant into the hole, plus the air pressure, and it plugs the hole very quickly. And even if you do get a hole in your tire, it'll plug it quickly so you can make it home. You can carry this with you, or I recommend just throwing it in your tire so you don't have to carry it on your bag or in your toolkit, and that way you can save space for something else. On the note of tires, I also definitely recommend just get a general electric tire pump. I thought that I could get away with just having a small hand pump, but with these huge fat tire e-bikes, you will be standing there all day pumping your tire. It will take you forever to pump up a tire, especially to 30 psi with a small hand pump. Yeah, you can get a manual hand pump, but those take a lot of time also. If you have any kind of power tools, whatever it might be, Ryobi, Milwaukee, I have Makita personally, they sell on Amazon a special tire inflator that accepts whatever kind of power tool battery system you have, and you could use that to quickly pump up your tires. They're pretty cheap. I think they're like $40-something. I have one that even is colored like Makita. I actually thought it was a Makita tire inflator, but it wasn't. It just colored the same, and it saved me so much time in pumping up my tires when I get a new bike, when I get an e-bike to review, or if I'm just doing some maintenance. Like for example, I had to reseat the tires of these and put Flatout in, and I was done with all of that in minutes. Next up, a little bit more safety gear, some basic LED rechargeable flashing lights for the back of your bike. Definitely important if you're on the road. Throw some of those on there. There's so many distracted drivers out there, and anything you can add on, especially if it's very inexpensive, there's no excuse not to throw this on your bike. Anything that you can add on to get a driver's attention is valuable, especially if you're laying there in the hospital bed after getting hit by a car and you think back, man, I really should have just gotten those little $11 LEDs. Nope, but I was too cheap to buy them and I decided to skip on them, and now I get hit by a car. And yes, it's the car's fault. However, look at you, still laying there in the hospital bed. Should have just gotten those lights. Yeah, guys, definitely get those lights. Super highly recommended. They're really cheap. They get the driver's attention. They're rechargeable. I think it's a must-have item for an e-biker. Next up, we're going to talk about a little bit of cold gear. And this I am currently feeling right now because it's about 35 degrees outside. I would recommend getting the shoes that I'm wearing right now. They're not specific to e-biking. However, I do like them because they're lightweight. They look nice. They're fur-lined. And they are inexpensive. They're the Hanadi ankle boots, I believe. And again, I'll leave all of these in the description below. I was recommended these by another e-bike reviewer who lives in my state, which is a cold state in the wintertime. And he likes them as well, so definitely check these out. Another thing I'd recommend is just a simple balaclava, I don't even know how to pronounce it, to go underneath your full-faced helmet with a visor. So both of those go hand in hand. Hopefully you guys can hear me because I'm wearing it right now. But with the visor and that, my face is nice and warm. It's toasty. I am super warm. My nose isn't red like Rudolph from the wind. And I can ride my e-bike around in the winter, near freezing temperature, super comfortable. And the last thing I'll recommend for winter riding is wind-resistant, fleece-lined pants. I think they're a must-have as well. You can warm your face, but if your legs are cold, if the wind passing by your body is just stealing all the heat from your body, your legs are going to be really cold. So definitely get some fleece-lined, windproof pants. You can even throw on some kind of like thermal liner under those, and you're going to be nice and warm. And again, you don't have to use the links in the description below. Let's say I give you an idea to buy something. You could buy this stuff anywhere. I just specifically like these products, and I know they're good because I've used them personally. Next, we're going to talk about $50 to $150 items I would recommend to get. The first two, on the same topic of staying warm, is a pair of Savior heated gloves and heated socks. You don't have to get both, but I would recommend getting both, and especially try and get the heated motorcycle gloves. They're a little bit thicker and they're more durable, especially if you do happen to fall. You're less likely to scrape up your hands. Right now I have the regular heated Savior gloves and they work pretty good. I kind of wish I did have the motorcycle ones. Definitely get those. They pair amazing with the items I listed earlier, the fleece-lined boots and the fleece-lined pants. They're going to work awesome. If you do commute with your e-bike, you might have to park it somewhere and lock it up. And there are so many locks out on the market, but the one I would recommend is probably the Kryptonite Lock. No lock is theft proof. It's just a theft deterrent. There's nothing that can make something unstealable. With enough willpower, enough time, and enough proper tools, something will be stolen, but you can make it really hard for them. And one of the things that you can do is add a high quality lock. This thing will require an angle grinder to cut through it, and that's going to make a lot of noise, especially if you have that alarm that I mentioned earlier. It's going to make a ruckus, and they might run away while they're trying to angle grind your lock. And so that's a pretty good lock, especially for e-bikes, in my opinion. Check that out in the description below. So now we're going to talk about the category of $150 plus. And the first thing I'll talk about actually goes on sale. And so sometimes it is exactly $150. That's the cheapest I have seen it. I paid the full $200 price for it. But that is a Garmin Radar. And that is the accessory, in my opinion, that goes hand in hand with the mirror that I mentioned earlier. Because just because you have a mirror doesn't mean you know when to look at it, because you're either looking at the mirror or looking where you're going. You can't do both. And sometimes you don't know when a car is coming up behind you. You can't hear it. You obviously can't see it. It's behind you. But a radar that has a radar detector that will notify you on your phone when exactly there's a vehicle behind you, which is super safe, because now you'll get a notification on your phone and you'll be alerted as to when to look into your mirror. Otherwise, you're always looking at your mirror thinking there's a car behind you, or you're never looking at your mirror, in which case you might as well not even have it.
So today was a day that the Garmin Varia and my mirror saved my life. I heard it beep, checked the mirror, I moved over into the grass, and had I not, he would have hit me. And as soon as he passed me, I looked up and he had his phone in his hand, looking down at his phone.
And so in my opinion, I think that is a very, very valuable safety device to have, and I would highly recommend getting that. Next up, if you are super into e-bikes, you might even start wanting to make e-bike videos like I do. I've tried a bunch of different cameras. I actually started this whole YouTube channel simply with my Galaxy S22 strapped to my chest, and it looked terrible. It was a small field of view. It sounded terrible. The microphone I had, the Purple Panda, sounded terrible as well. And so then I upgraded to a DJI Action 2. That was okay, but the sound quality was kind of weird. The microphones made me sound like Tron. And so I ended up getting an Insta360 for a variety of reasons. Number one, you could do a lot of cool things with it. You can film 360 videos, you can choose angles, you can strap the camera to other areas of your bike, and it just makes for really cool shots. And you could also strap it to your helmet like I have right now and just make a riding video like this, like a normal camera. And so there are so many different things you can use with this camera. It's multiple cameras in one, and that's the reason I recommend it. I'll also list a bunch of accessories that you can use to mount the camera to your bike. There's definitely a right way and a wrong way. If you use the selfie stick and you want to extend it and mount it to your bike, you will 100% need 2 points of contact, because the weight of the camera on the stick leverages out any kind of single point mount that you might use. So you're going to need 2 mounting points, and I went through a whole trial and error process figuring out what's the best and easiest way to mount this Insta360 camera to a bike, and I'll list all of that stuff in the description below. And the last thing I would definitely recommend is an e-bike carrier if you do like taking the bikes out, maybe bringing the bikes to some location and doing a ride, not just riding out of your house. I personally use the KAC hitch carrier. It can go into a 2-inch hitch, but I know they do sell it also in a 1.25-inch hitch, so make sure you double check what you have on your car if you do have a hitch. If you don't, you could install it on your car. You can have someone install it if you don't know how. But I've used that hitch for a while. I've carried this bike and another heavy bike on it, and it held up just fine. I would definitely recommend it. It's a very good value. There are some extremely expensive hitch carriers out there that are obviously better quality and better built. But again, I am just giving you things that I have personally used. And if you are on a budget, I think it's a pretty good hitch carrier personally, especially if you just have smaller e-bikes, 1 or 2 electric XP e-bikes. That hitch carrier will be fine in my opinion. So that's it for today, guys. I just wanted to give you guys an updated list on accessories I would recommend for your e-biker friend, family member, or even for yourself. This is a great list if you need some ideas for gift giving, if you need some gift ideas, or you just want to buy something for yourself. And right now it is holiday shopping time. So again, I'll leave all the links to the stuff I mentioned in the description below. Obviously, besides the winter gear that I mentioned, this list is good for the entire year. So if you ever want to reference this list later on when it's warmer, feel free to do so.